Okay, I'm officially back at it, and I am starting a website called firefisher.com. You got to get Fisher out of Tennessee. He is destroying the whole organization. Just fire him. Bud Adams, get rid of him. I really, really like Fisher. It's just the fact that I'm not sure if he's the one coach I want for the Cowboys. I know he's in top 3, of course. Fisher's a badass. I think the Jets are done without Chris Jenkins. If they can't do the same things that Jenkins did in the middle of that defense, because that's what made all the blitzes happen and stuff like that. So if they can't really replace what Jenkins did, then the Jets might be heading south and the Bills might be heading north. But the Pats are completely back, so I think you're going to see a whole new team there. The Seahawks game with us, they lost to Tupu, so it's starting to look a little bit better, and they didn't look nearly as strong as they did the week before versus Jacksonville. So, and no one's close to the Saints right now. Those guys are killing. Maybe the Colts, but we'll see that game later on. But the Atlanta Falcons game coming up. The Falcons are my nemesis team. I don't hate the Atlanta Falcons, but they're the home team. They're the team that was, a couple of hours from where I grew up. They're the team that, I had to see everywhere growing up. They're the team that was on the TV when, there were no direct TV and you had to watch one game. And just to see your Cowboys score in the corner, you had to watch Steve Bartkowski and William Andrews and all that kind of stuff going on. So, and then worse than that, my cousin, who really wasn't a Cowboy fan, who was just a bandwagon Pittsburgh fan, we started Little League at the same time, and he got to play for the Cowboys, and your boy had to play with the Falcons. I was so mad, but still, I was all state. Bam. I digress. The game. I'm sorry, people. A lot of people text me and said Atlanta doesn't look that impressive. I know a lot of people going to write down below. I wasn't impressed with what Atlanta did, because a lot of people was watching that Atlanta versus Chicago game. But I think a lot of people don't think Chicago is as good as they are. Chicago is a really strong team. I don't think they're one of the upper echelon teams, but I think they're a strong team. And I think Matty Ryan is damn near perfect. If I could choose one person to have as my quarterback as on a team, I'm very sure it would be Matty Ice, because he never gets shook. I watched him all at Boston College, so he doesn't get shook. He's accurate. He's smart. He does everything right. So it's gonna be hard to sack him, because he's gonna get the ball out. He's got weapons. Tony Gonzalez probably he has more skills than Witten. Witten just has the toughness and runs the routes and stuff like that. But Gonzalez is totally a badass, and to stop him, you have to really just knock the ball completely out of his hands, because if he can get his hands on it, he's gonna catch it whether you're on his shoulders or not. So then we got to deal with Roddy White and Mike Jenkins. I bet, you can't forget about that guy, because, he didn't have a good week last week, but still he has, potential to get down the field. So Atlanta, they scared the living bejesus out of me, but they're kind of hurt right now. They lost Brian Williams last week. So they're trying to get over some injuries. I don't know how Julius Norwood is. And then I saw we have Felix coming back and things of that sort. So the scales might be evening up just a little bit, but I do think we need to outscore them, and outscoring them is going to be very, very, very tough for us. Now, Miles Austin is going to be starting, but there's a little rumblings in Dallas. I was listening to the Galloway show over on DCFanatic.com, and they said that Miles is actually been moved into another position because they want to keep Roy out there. So Miles' true position is what Roy is playing. And when Miles got the yards and everything like that, he got it playing that position. So now Miles, to get him on the field, they're moving him over to play the other wide receiver position and moving Creighton into the slot. Well, a lot of people think that Roy is the guy that should be moved out and Miles should be put in that position, since that's the position that Miles can use his skills at. They said his skills do not come into play as well at the other wide receiver position because they run different routes than the more vertical wide receiver position that Roy is playing. So that's a lot to look at. Keep that in mind of what's going on. The defense, I just don't know what we can do to stop Atlanta. They're such a perfectly built team. They have a running game. They have a passing game. They have intermediate passing. They have the deep threat. They have every single tool that you need to have a dynamic offense in the NFL. So we're just gonna have to up our game. Period. We're gonna have to up our game on offense, and we're gonna have to match and match and match. And we're gonna have to score last. If we do not score last, we do not win. Period. Okay. I'll have another prediction closer to the game when we do the game thread. But right now, it just looks like a tough task coming up this week. All right. Holla. Peace.